Yeah.
And the more we're talking, the more this just comes down to one word: relationships, relationship
Hmm.
management. How do
Hmm.
you go about fostering, maintaining, respecting the relationships within the hobby? And yes, there's a monetary transaction that we have to buy and
Hmm.
sell animals, but if you look at it more as this is treat it as relationships, you're going to come out
Hmm.
ahead. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Gecko Guys. My name is Bobby with Gecko Cove, and this is
I'm John with Goldenrod Gex. Nice to see you guys again.
awesome. All right, so we are back with a fun topic today, one that everybody who's in this hobby has to love because it's an exciting time. It's that time of year. People are releasing their geckos, and it's time to go buy some animals. John, are you excited to buy something? Are you going to Tinley?
Oh, yeah, obviously. I always go to Tinley telling myself I'm never going to buy another animal, and then I come home with four. It's a tradition at this point.
Yeah. So, buying geckos is one of those things that you do it when you first start out, but you continually do it throughout your hobby. And today we just kind of want to talk a little bit about what that process looks like, some tips, some pitfalls, some just etiquette on, how to interact with sellers if you're the buyer, and if you're the seller, how do you interact with your customers in a way to be successful. Does that sound about right, John?
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds fun.
All right. So, I think we need to kind of break this down a little bit into, you know, are we talking about there's many different ways to buy geckos, right? You can
Hmm.
buy online today, you can buy in person. What's your favorite way to buy a gecko? And, you know, did it always, was it always that way, or has that evolved?
Yeah, so, you know, as you grow as a breeder, as a seller, everything evolves the same way buying and selling geckos does. When I first started out, Morph Market was the place that I bought geckos. It was a really great tool for me. You could search the animals, try to find the traits you wanted. And the biggest thing for me was I could see all the animals side by side, and it helped me compare animals that I wanted and didn't want. As I've evolved, it's gone kind of the opposite direction. I went from wanting to see all my options in one place to I want to have a conversation with the breeder first. I want to see the stuff that isn't advertised. And so as I've grown, it's turned into I find myself actually the last two geckos I bought was through direct messaging on Instagram, just talking to the breeder and asking like, hey, is there any stuff behind the curtain that you're debating on selling? Um, because as my taste has evolved, I'm looking for geckos that are like really high in demand, hard to get. And I found the best way to do that is talk to the people that you know can produce those and see if there's anything that they haven't listed yet that they might list. Because a lot of the times those high in demand geckos sell really quick. And so the only way to really get a grasp on one is to talk to the breeder that might have something. So yeah. What about
Absolutely.
you, Bobby?
Yeah, I would say I did the same thing. Morph Market was relatively new when we got into the hobby. I know they had just changed ownership. And before that, there wasn't Morph Market, right? You listened to some of the
Hmm.
OGs, and it was the fauna classifieds and things like that. So I remember even just going, because my very first two geckos were actually at a reptile store at Birds and Beats in Cary, Illinois. So, luckily my reptile store has a guy who owns it who just is awesome and loves gargoyles. So, kind of worked out for me. That's where I got Eve in Hawaii. And so I actually then kind of went on a binge of looking at all the different stores, right? That was my first attempt to go and try to find my stock, my geckos. That turned to Morph Market and online pretty
Hmm.
quickly. I was never into Instagram. never into Instagram.
Mm.
I'm a millennial. It was Facebook, and Facebook groups and things like that. I still utilize Facebook groups today. I know that gets shit on a lot in this hobby. However, I'll be honest with you. When you're looking outside this country, other countries use Facebook. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes more than Instagram. And so I've found a lot of my European imports where they're posted for a few days. And I messaged the guy and I'm like, hey, are these still even available? Like, I bet they're
Mm-hmm.
gone. And they're like, oh, no, they're totally available. I'm like, how they're covered, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
that was pretty exciting. But yeah, it's a lot of one-on-one trying to see what's behind the curtain. And there's certain breeders I'll reach out to, probably, to the point where they're like, all right, leave me alone, right? I've shown you what I'm willing to show you.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the other double-edged sword is sometimes when you're in this hobby, people must have other stuff they're just not showing you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's stuff I don't
Mm-hmm.
show everybody as far as like, okay, if you ask me what gargoyles are available right now, I'm not going to show you every single gecko I have, right?
Yep.
Because I'm not planning on selling every gecko I have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's always like, okay, timing, right? Is the timing right? Because if you catch me at a certain time where I'm trying to, you know, I'm trying to buy a gecko, maybe I don't have the funds for it, I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
raise funds. All of a sudden, that gecko that was a holdback, now I'm like, okay, maybe there is a price for it, right? Um, and one thing that I've had happen to me is I've had people just offer me money for animals that aren't for sale. And that's a strategy. I don't know if it's a good strategy or not, because sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
works, sometimes it doesn't. Um, but a lot of people, there's a price for everything. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
if someone's not looking to move something and you're just flat out asking them and taking a shot in the dark, expect to pay top dollar,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, but I think Morph Market definitely is something I check all the time just because you can filter and search, and there are high end things that pop up every so often, but it's usually not the best deal all the time. But sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
see some gems and they're great priced, and
Mm-hmm.
those go relatively quickly. So if you're not checking all the time, anything like that's going to go really fast.
Oh, yeah. And like I still check Morph Market. A lot of times I like to if I check it and I've had a gecko that, I'll save on Morph Market and I'll just save it and look at it. And if it still hasn't sold in a month or two, I'm like, well, maybe I'll offer a price, that's we'll get into negotiating
Well,
later
let's
on in
talk
the
about that.
episode. But
Let's
all
talk about it
right,
now.
let's do it.
Why not? Let's do it. All right.
Let's do it.
So there's a list price, right? On Morph Market. There's a starting bid. We'll get into Palm Street a little bit later. Negotiating, I think, is something that a lot of people either you're comfortable with it or you're not. Right. There are people who are very comfortable with it and don't mind asking. There are other people that I've heard, I swear I respect people too much. If they ask for $10,000, I'm paying $10,000 for the gecko if I want it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I love customers like you. I really do.
Yep.
But that's not the majority of people out there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so what's your philosophy on negotiation?
Yeah. So it's like you said, it's a really touchy, like individualistic scenario that every negotiation attempt is not going to be the same as any other one. Like you mentioned Palm Street earlier. When I do a Palm Street auction, um, the auction start is the lowest I take for an animal. That's what I do. I am very okay with putting it that is what I'm willing to sell the animal for. I won't be super mad if it sells for that price. In those scenarios, I'm not willing to negotiate. If I put a gecko up for $150, I'm not going to take less than that because to me that's the rock bottom low. I'm trying to give you guys a good deal because it's Palm Streets. Tiny plug, if you haven't been to one of my Palm Streets, go. It's very fun.
Yeah. They're
Anyway,
fun.
but versus like Instagram, if I post something on my story, um, usually I'm okay. Like talk to me. Maybe we can negotiate like free shipping, something like that. Or Morph Market, unless I put in the Morph Market description firm price, yeah, talk to me. I love doing that. I love bartering. That's kind of what I do when I buy animals too, is I feel it out. And if I think the gecko's worth a certain amount and I've talked with the person, built sort of some rapport with them, I'll put out a feeler like, is this a firm price? I'll ask, like, is it a firm price? Are you open to offers? If they say they're open for offers, I'll give them a reasonable offer. When we're negotiating, we're not going to say like, here, this $1,000 gecko, I'll give you $200. That's not, that's what we call a lowball.
Yes.
If you give them like are you open to like maybe 800 for this $1,000 animal? Like, where are we at in that?
Hmm.
That's something that I know I personally, I like doing that. I like doing the back and forth. It's fun for me. But
Well,
some
I
breeders
think
aren't that
that
way.
kind of goes into the psychology of sales, is that everybody wants to feel like they got a deal, right?
Hmm.
I'm from the Midwest. One of the biggest flexes is, oh, do you know how much I got this for? I got it for this
Hmm.
percent off, kind of thing.
Yep.
And so, um, I think you just have to be realistic with what a deal is, because we are
Hmm.
dealing with animals, and breeders have put in a lot of time and energy. But also, it's
Hmm.
kind of what I said earlier. It's timing, right?
Yep.
How motivated, and that's, as a buyer, you need to kind of feel out, how motivated is this seller to move this animal,
Hmm.
right? And there are some times where I can tell right away there is no negotiation. There is
Hmm.
no, they will sit on this animal. They don't care, and that, I
Hmm.
respect that. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But then there's other people who I'm like, clearly you want to move this animal.
Hmm.
Let's talk, and like you said, it's
Hmm.
not I'm not going to offer you half, right? That I'm not going to be a low baller, but I'm also not going to not negotiate. The one thing I will say, and this is sort of a rule I live by, and I don't know if you agree with this, is whether people are trying to negotiate with me or I'm trying to negotiate with someone else. To me, money off or payment plan is an either or thing. Very, very, very rarely will I give money off and give a payment plan
Hmm. Yep.
where, X amount of time, I need a month, I need 2 months to pay
Hmm.
off this amount.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
then it's like, well, can I also have free shipping? It's like, no, 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 no. I'm doing you
Hmm.
I got to take care of this
Yep.
animal for a lot longer.
Yep.
And so, um, yeah, I've never actually done a payment plan. I've always just bought the
Hmm.
gecko outright. If I'm willing to negotiate, I'm ready to pull the trigger today.
Hmm.
But that's just me. And I get people, and I some of my favorite customers have done payment plans, and it's worked out beautifully. So there's nothing
Hmm.
wrong with them. I think it's a one or the other thing. What do you think about that?
Hmm. I 100% agree. I've done payment plans with people before. Because I've also done payment plans for geckos. Sometimes affording that really nice, expensive gecko is hard. You can't do it all at
It
once.
is.
But I 100% agree that getting the luxury of reserving an animal for you means that that seller is sacrificing the potential for other buyers to come in. So in my opinion, if I were a seller, if I offer you a deal and you take that, if now you're on a payment plan and I have to sit on that gecko for another month, in that month, it's very well likely that someone will pay full price for it. But if you're willing to pay full price, I'm happy, you're happy, I'll hold it for you. It's that's part of the negotiation, is this is the cash, waving in my face. Like, if you take this deal, you get this immediately, which is like a really powerful negotiating tactic, is saying like, this instantly in your bank account, give it for me for $200. A lot of times that $200 off is enough to sacrifice that extra time to hold that animal for another 2 months until it sells. It's just, I 100% agree. You can't have one or the other. Just because getting it for a deal and then having to hold it for an extra 2 months, you're almost leaving money on the table, because odds are there probably will be someone that'll pick it up for that deal price. So,
So, what do you think about deposits? Do you have a clause in your terms of sales? Do you have a terms of sales?
mhm.
And how stringent are you when it comes to deposits?
I have a terms of sale for my morph market. I think I need to update. I don't know if I have one for my Palm Street. I think I'm just gonna like copy and paste my morph market one onto my Palm Street just because I worked
Yeah.
really hard on that. But I view like a deposit as a payment plan. If you're gonna deposit a certain amount of money and then pay me again in 2 weeks or 4 weeks, that's a payment plan. That is me agreeing to hold an animal for you while you come up with the rest of the money. Um, I usually am good with like a 25% deposit. I know you're a lot more. You require a higher deposit. I'm all for
According
like
to my, yeah. There's a
according to
few
your
circumstances.
yeah.
If I know the person and I've worked
Hmm.
with them before, I'm a little more flexible. But yeah, I usually want half up front.
Yeah. And to me it's like that deposit is you reserving an animal, so it's a payment plan. I also believe deposits are non-refundable. If every payment plan I do, I require that non-refundable deposit just because I've had too many experiences of people saying, "Hey, hold this gecko for me. I want it." Oh, sorry about that voice crack. Hey,
It's
hold
all
this
right.
gecko for
Puberty
me.
sucks.
I'm still growing. I'm a growing boy.
It's just a baby.
I'm just a baby. Guys, go watch the Adam Wickens reptile video if you haven't. I say that. I'm just a little baby.
Yes.
Anyway, um, to me, like I've just been burned in the past. I want to see the best in every customer, but the reality of it is sometimes we just aren't that lucky. And so me knowing that that deposit isn't refundable is an extra assurance for not only me but you saying like this gecko is yours if anything happens to it because of the time that I put in reserving this animal, not showing it. I'm gonna need that money just because I'm taking this off of the market. It's yours. Like I could have sold it to someone else. So both of our time, there has to be something for the time that happened because time is
Absolutely.
valuable. Time is very valuable when it comes to this.
Time is valuable. Yes, absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, I've lost deposits, not on geckos, but I've changed my mind. I put a deposit on a puppy before I got my last dog, and we decided that that breed wasn't the right breed for us, and I lost my deposit. And it was a substantial deposit, you know. I've lost one other deposit on a cat back when I was first getting into, my Maine Coons. And it wasn't because we changed our mind. We ended up getting a Maine Coon. It was because I did more research on the breeder, and I'm like, these are not going to be healthy, and I'd rather lose my deposit than take an unhealthy animal. So, I understand changing your mind for whatever reason, but you know, there are consequences to every decision, both good and bad,
Hmm.
and that's why you need to know before you hit that send button. Um, if you're really in for the long haul with this. So, um, yeah, that's definitely I think an etiquette thing that most people learn pretty quickly in this hobby. One thing that
Hmm.
I do as a seller is if you give me a deposit for an animal, right, and you decide, you know, that's not the right one. I'm sorry,
Hmm.
my plans changed. Um, that deposit is good towards another animal that I post until the end of the year, right? And
Hmm.
so it goes until the end of this calendar year. So if you put a deposit in February, you got almost a whole year.
Hmm.
But if we're in the busy season of moving animals around this time of year in the fall, you've only got until January. And I just made that
Hmm.
up. So it's my rule.
Yeah.
But it gives people a little bit more assurance that their money's just not disappearing. I'm not running away with
Hmm.
it. And I understand things happen.
Exactly. And I really like, I know me and you have talked about that off camera, and I
Hmm.
actually want to implement that just because, like, as a seller, I strive to have really, really good customer service.
Yeah.
And one good thing about that is, yeah, you didn't want this animal. That's okay. I still want to help you in your breeding journey. I still want to help you in your pet journey. So if you find another one of mine that you like, we'll keep that money and I'll take it off for that other gecko. To me, that shows like I care. It's not just about the money for me. Let
Right.
me help you out, even if this isn't the one for you,
It's not
which
just
speaks
about
to
the
your
money,
character.
but this is a
Yeah.
business too, so
Oh,
it's like, yeah.
obviously. Yeah.
And I think, and I've had it happen once or twice. And actually, every time it's ever happened, I think they bought a more expensive gecko later, to be honest with you. And I'm still good friends with them. And it keeps the relationship really nice. And that's what it
Exactly.
is whether you're buying or selling, these are relationships. And this hobby is not that
Hmm.
big. The longer you're in this,
Hmm.
to realize how small this is, especially if you
Hmm.
stay in it for a long time. And not that we've either been in it for a long time, so
Yeah.
it's only going to get smaller, right? And a bunch of new people, but um, it's a lot of relationship building, and I think that goes back
Hmm.
to searching for new geckos. Is
Hmm.
once you start buying from people, once you start building those relationships, whether on purchases or just meeting them at
Hmm.
expos, or just talking to people on social media, those are then the people that you reach out to. Hey, I
Hmm.
remember you had X, Y, and Z, and you're working with that. Are you still working with that project? Do you have any
Hmm.
babies? Or you stalk their Instagram page, you actually do follow them,
Yeah.
and you see them post, and you're like, how much? How much are
Yep.
you selling them? Oh, they're not even for sale yet. Sweet. All right. How much are you asking? I
Hmm.
want it.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of how this works.
Yeah. And I think like that brings up a good point is just being that friendly, familiar face, knowing like even if customers don't want to buy anything from you right now, they know you as your character as a good person. That's the one thing I really wanted to show in my business model, you could call it, with my Instagram. I in the Crested community, it's not as big as the guard community, but like my quote is like you can buy the same gecko from three different people, right? It depends. It all comes down to who the person you're buying from is like. I am never going to say like I have geckos that no one else has because that's just really not the truth in the crested community. People are working with, so there's some like really cool stuff that you can only find in one place.
Sure.
I'm not to that level yet. So if it's between me and someone else, I want to be the guy that's willing to just have a conversation with you. The one that's just nice and friendly. So that way, you want to buy from me, not just because I have a cool animal, but because you trust that I'll be there with you. You can text me. I'll do my best to respond, give you advice. I want to model my business off of being a good person, which to me I think is really really important when you're trying to grow in this hobby because it's all about the connections you make. It's all about your reputation, things like that.
Well, and especially if you're a very new person in this hobby,
Hmm.
reputation, visibility, things like that are important because shipping. Let's just talk about shipping for a hot second. So you buy the gecko, and a lot of people who are brand new, unless you're buying at an expo where you could take it home that day, are nervous the first time they have
Oh
to
yeah.
receive an animal. It does this person, have they done this before? Have they, had any losses previously? What was their policy on this? If the animal dies in transit, are they going to replace my animal? Are they not?
Hmm.
These are all questions that I need to answer as someone who sells animals. Um, and I do. And the longer I do this, the more confident I am with my answers. But I was very honest up front. And this is another point I want to bring up is if you are a new seller, don't don't go and lie. Don't say that you've done this
Hmm.
1,000 times when this is your first
Hmm.
shipment. If you need help with it, reach out to someone who's been doing it for longer. we're
Hmm.
we're all willing, most of us,
Hmm.
all right, to tell you
Me and
how to
Bobby are for sure.
package. Oh, definitely. How to package an animal. You're looking at the weather. Okay, the weather at the hub's
Hmm.
this, the weather here's this, the
Hmm.
weather at the destination's this. Would you put a hot pack in? Would you put a cool pack in? If
Hmm.
you're selling to a breeder, I've reached out to when I'm selling to another breeder. Do you want me to put in a cool pack, or do you think that it's low 70s, high 60s? Do you want a phase pack in there instead, or do you want uh, just sometimes asking the recipient what their expectation is can make it
Hmm.
successful and kind of take the pressure off you as well. I've done that in the past.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
absolutely. Shipping is I remember when I got my first gecko, um, I was so paranoid to get it. And at the time, I was a new guy. I wasn't as familiar with like max and min temps to buy a gecko. Um, I bought my first gecko from, I think, Copper State Cresteds. I bought my first gecko
Nice.
from her. And I bought him from her in like October in Nebraska, super cold, right? So it had to be held all the way up until like February, March. And then it was too hot for a little bit because she lives in Arizona. And so I'm blowing her up, like saying like, hey, it's good this day, good this day. And she did a good job of like educating me, like, hey, it might be good for this day, but we need 2 days in a row. So that way, in case it's caught in transit, it doesn't cook or it doesn't freeze. And
Yes,
so
that's
just
huge.
just being there for that new person who this might be their first gecko shipment, and sort of showing them the ropes of shipping because it's a super stressful time, like wondering if your animal's going to get across the country fine, and just educating them, obviously being nice about it, coming in
Hmm.
with an open mind, like remembering back when you were a new guy and you didn't know what was going on either.
Yep,
That's a really defining moment on if that person's going to buy for you again. You know,
yeah,
how nice were they, understanding? Were they empathetic? Did they satisfy my questions? Things like that. Those little things not a lot of people think of sometimes.
absolutely. Taking a step back, going back because we are going to a big show with Tinley coming up.
Hmm.
Um, Buying in person. What
Hmm.
are some tips that you have to make that more successful, or make it so you can negotiate easier?
Hmm. So buying in person, I might be an old guy when I say this, but coming from a man who runs a business now, your biggest negotiating factor is having cash. I think sorry, voice crack number two.
There
Uh,
you go. Keep a tally, guys. How
that's,
many times during this podcast does his voice crack? Put it down in the
that
comments.
would be fun. I can't wait to see that.
Hmm.
But having that form of currency for whatever reason the currency may have that makes it more valuable than digital currency, um,
Thanks,
having
Uncle
that,
Sam.
yeah, having that form of currency is really like I've gotten deals that I know I wouldn't have gotten unless I gave them a wad of cash. And that's again not saying you can go up to someone and give them $200 for a $600 animal and say, hey, it's cash. Don't do that. Oh, three. But it's still it holds power. And then also just knowing when to come up to someone at an expo is very important because especially at Tinley, it gets
Yeah.
busy. It gets busy, busy, busy. And if you try to sort of storm in and interrupt someone while they're talking to another customer, that's a really like as a business owner, that's a really hard thing for me to just switch focus on you because I'm already talking to another person who's potentially interested in a gecko. And so it's hard for me to switch focus and give you my full attention when I have another potential
Well,
customer
and if you piss
also
somebody
talking.
off right away, it kind of destroys your
Hmm.
negotiations with
Yeah,
them, right?
yeah. I,
So
I'm
it's
a
like,
I'm a very yeah I'm a very understanding individual, but there is a lot of breeders who are a lot less understanding. Um,
mhm.
so other breeders might not take it as lightly. That offer that you were going to give them, if you would have waited, they might have accepted it. But because you interrupted them talking to other customers, they're going to say, no, you can wait. That price is the price. I'm going to talk to this other person because they waited,
I,
you know?
yeah. Well, I think too, just be just a decent human being, right?
Hmm.
Be patient. You don't need to let everybody in front of you, but it's one of those things
Hmm.
where say hi,
Yeah.
start looking around, ask
Hmm.
questions, compliment something. These are
Yeah.
all just like,
Yeah.
interpersonal communication 101.
Hmm.
And also, I think if it's a gecko that you have to have, right?
Hmm.
Then it doesn't matter what time of the show, whether it's, if it's a 3-day show like Tinley, buy the
Hmm.
VIP. That's when the crazy
Yep.
stuff typically goes.
Yep.
And at that point, don't expect to get a big discount. Just don't.
Hmm.
Whatever the
Yeah.
price is probably what you're going to have to pay because, you can always ask, but you can always get told no because they've got the
Hmm.
whole show to sell it.
Yep.
Versus you wait till the last day,
Sunday at 2. Yeah.
or if it's a 1-day show like this weekend, I'm going to Sewer
Hmm.
Fest up in Wisconsin, right? So I'm going there on Sunday. It's a 1-day show. It closes at 3. I'd say around 2 o'clock. That's when people are looking at their table going, all right, what's
Mm-hmm.
left? What do I want to take home? Would I take $200 off this, to not
Mm-hmm.
take the animal home? How much did I
Mm-hmm.
pay for my table? Right? Have I broken even yet?
Mm-hmm.
These are all factors that you may not know as someone walking up to that table that could play a huge factor at what the end result is. And so
Mm-hmm.
just being able to read the room, read them, and respect if they say no. That's the
Yep.
other thing. When people get huffy and pissed, well, why can't you do it? It's like, don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's
just how it is.
the no is never personal.
No.
I have been told no by so many breeders. And
Mm-hmm.
it's mainly like the safest thing I've found for asking negotiation is just go up, say, is this firm? You open to offers. If they say no, yeah, of course, that's fine. Just
This
opening
is where
up
you
with
and I
the
differ,
yeah.
John. This is where you and I differ. To me, I'm just always assuming that there's some negotiation, but I'm always assuming I'm going to be told no. Like I get told about
Okay.
no 80-90% of the time, which is fine. It
Hmm.
just kids and
Yeah,
so I save
exactly.
my money, And I've also done this where it's worked out a handful of times, but more times than not, it doesn't
Hmm.
work. I will literally only have X amount of dollars in my Gecko account, right? I
Hmm.
know that my budget is, let's just say, for easy math, $1,000. And there's an animal on the table that costs 15. Okay.
Hmm.
I've gone up to that breeder and said, hey, I really like this. If it sells, it sells. I don't have the money. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't have the money.
Hmm.
I do have this. I do have
Hmm.
$1,000. If you are at the end of the show and you're willing to sell it for $1,000, I'll give you my number or I'll swing by again. Whatever,
Hmm.
I kind of read the room. And there's times where sometimes I've had one time where they pick it up, they go, I'll give it to you for that right now. Great, great.
Hmm.
Other times they laugh at me. I walk away and they probably chuckle next to the person that they're talking to, going, can you believe this schmuck?
Hmm. Yeah.
That's fine, but I
Hmm.
just try to be respectful and be honest with them. And,
Yeah.
you put your cards on the
And
table.
that's the main thing is we're going into this and we're not feeling entitled at all. We're going
It's their
into it
animal.
open, honest, like this is what I have. If you're willing to do that for me, let me know. You can, like Bobby, what you said, like you can keep it on the table, trying to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't sell it and you want to do it for that price, call me. I'm there. It's yours. Like the money's yours. Like that is a
Yeah,
great way to say, like, you don't have to make a decision. Just know if it's the end of the show and you haven't sold it, you have a buyer as long as you're okay with that price.
right.
That's super respectful. That's not a this
And if you
animal is
do
only worth
have the
this
money and you're
much,
doing that anyway, know you're probably going to lose the animal. Like it's
Yeah.
not a good way to get the animal. Like, you know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
But if you legit, that's all you have. It's just another way of going about it. But at the end of the show, kind of going back to that, you've got a
Yeah.
better chance. But then some people don't care if it's the end of the show.
Hmm.
They've got another show the next weekend. They need the
Yep.
stock. They can go and throw it up online. So it's not like you should expect a fire sale at the end of
Hmm.
every single show.
Yep.
It's not
You
realistic.
should. But the main thing is, if you're respectful with them and you just talk with them, just building that rapport with that breeder is huge
Yeah.
because now, they know you, they know what you're into. Maybe someday they'll text you and say, hey, I got this really cool thing. And it's kind of like what you want. I'll show it to you. You can have it for that price. Just having that connection is almost more important than actually buying the gecko or not. Just
Absolutely.
having that
Well, and if
person.
they
Yeah.
know that you're looking for something too, the next
Hmm.
time they produce it or they have it,
Hmm.
they might have you in the back of their mind go, hey, I don't even have to post this thing. I can just call John. I know he's looking
Hmm.
for a phantom, porthole red crested gecko. It's like he's the guy for that. So I think that's also kind of huge. Is just like you said, building those connections. Now, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to talk from just my personal experience as a
Yeah.
seller.
Go ahead.
If I like you, if I have a connection, not that we have to be best friends and,
Hmm.
whatever, it's not like, we don't have to have a podcast together for me to want to cut someone a deal.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
if they're just like a cool person and I could tell they're geeking out with me
Mm-hmm.
and they're respectful and, maybe they don't have a ton of money and I can tell that,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it may be, that's my criteria that day. There's times where I'm like, I'll just knock off some amount of the
Yep.
money because I want them to have my animal,
Yep.
because we just had a great 10-minute conversation about something that just kind of made my day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it could be
Mm-hmm.
about geckos, it could be about Game of Thrones, it could be about,
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon. I don't care what it is, but just being likable and not,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just going up there as a transaction 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Asking real good questions. I mean, we see it all the time with younger kids trying to get into the hobby, where a lot of people are like, hey, if
Mm-hmm.
I see someone who's really trying to get their first animal,
Yep. Yep.
I'm gonna make sure that they end up walking away with a hell of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true, but it's also true for adults too, is
Mm-hmm.
people are more willing to do things for you if you're likable with them, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I 100% agree. One of the big things I do is like, it's really common if I sell an animal online and they're texting me, being respectful about it, asking husbandry care, things like that, or just, being a chill person, asking me about like me figuring out more about them, just building that rapport. I'll usually text them and say, hey, are you looking for any more? I'll
Hmm.
knock off, I'll give you a good deal. You've got a package coming already. And that works out good for both me and them.
That's yeah.
Them, I can get a little extra money. And I'm going to give them a great deal because I like them as a person. I know that I know that animal's going to get taken care of. And so it works out better for both of us. So I've done
Yeah.
that probably 4 or 5 times this season already, where the initial transaction went super smooth. They're
Hmm.
super respectful. It was just a pleasant experience for both of us. And maybe I knew they were looking for something else, and I'll just say like, here, have this. I'll knock off $100, and it's free shipping because you already got a package coming, and it
Yep.
just leaves us both very happy.
Well, I think that's both a negotiating tool, but also
Mm-hmm.
a comfort tool for the sellers. If you're buying multiples, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't make the negotiation for the 2 or 3 animals right at the first initial, you negotiate one animal, right? And then you come, oh, I really like this other one. Yeah, you have a higher chance of being able to ask for a
Yeah.
little bit more off, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, if it's shipped, you've already got shipping, kind of in the bag for most part. Um, I think that's something. Also, it just even if okay, you've already been shipped the animal, right? You had a good experience. We'll get into what makes a good experience in a second. I want to touch on that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's been a good experience for the first transaction, and you want another animal. Well, repeat customers. I mean, I would say
Yeah.
most of my sales end up being repeat customers because,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that because I'll give them
Mm-hmm.
another, again, it's not like I just hand out deals left and right just
Mm-hmm.
because of
Yeah,
these
but
things.
we still
But
have to pay for gecko food, things like that.
yeah,
But
exactly. And some geckos are just worth what I'm asking at the time,
mm-hmm.
I'm not selling it to anybody otherwise. And but when it comes to repeat customers, the guarantee that I know, you're going to pay me in a timely manner, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going
Exactly.
to you're not a random person that's going to try to do a charge
Mm-hmm.
back, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to go and screw me over and not pick up the animal from
Yep.
the hub, or not
Yep.
communicate that you're going to even pick it up and I find out through Morph Market, right? The little check mark comes that actually went through, or whoever you ship with, right?
Mm-hmm.
They indicate whether it's been picked up or not. So these are all things that, if you've done a good job and they've done a good job
Mm-hmm.
and you trust each other and you built that trust, that's worth the peace of mind to knock off a
Yeah.
little bit off the animal's
Well, yeah.
price.
I know
So
my personal, what I would classify as like the best deals I've ever gotten from like buying crested geckos. It's
yeah.
from the people that I've built that connection with. I've talked to them personally. I've bought other geckos from them, and we both have a nice mutual sort of acquaintance where they know I'm going to pay
Mhm.
them. I know they're going to ship me the gecko, So let's knock off price and it goes smoothly. And that's the best deals I've ever gotten are through those relationships I've made.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
absolutely. I literally have one customer, and if the customer's watching, you know who you are. Okay, you're awesome. Where I've gotten to the point where I trust them so much, if they ever ask me for a payment plan, I will ship them the animal before they pay it off. And I don't do that for more than one person, and that one person knows who they are, you know. And John, I wouldn't even do it for you. I like you,
That's a whole,
but
yeah, I wouldn't do it for you either. That's a whole nother level of trust. Holy
it is.
cow.
But you know,
Whoever
it's
you
one of
are,
those things.
that's good for you. Yeah.
We've built that trust over the years, and you know, it's awesome, and it's great to get to that place with somebody. And you know, I think it's something that should be, you should strive for something like that with people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
It's a great place to be.
on the
It
flip
sounds
side,
like,
is there anything as a buyer, you know, through the buying and picking up experience, anything you recommend people sort of avoid
shy away
to look
from,
bad?
we'll talk about, I think, I feel like we should talk about what the seller should avoid first before we get
Okay,
into a
yeah, go ahead.
buyer. Let's do that first, just so we can get both perspectives.
Sure.
I think when it comes to being a seller, the biggest thing is communication. Now there's a caveat
Yes.
there. As your collection grows and as you're in the heat of selling, there's gonna be some maybe lacks of communication. And I don't mean just not telling them when it's shipped or anything. I mean, like, instead of responding to that message in 5 minutes, it might take an hour, you know?
hmm
And that's another thing. We'll talk about the buyer, but that's just one thing you
Wait,
got to
people
strive to
have
have
lives,
is
John?
exactly.
They
Who
have
knew,
careers?
right? Yeah. Uh, One thing is that just try to get to the message as soon as you can as a seller. I know it's hard. I struggle with it sometimes. Um, it's just letting that customer be in the loop. One thing I do for extra peace of mind for my customers is if I know I'm holding an animal until shipping weather, you know, I had some animals bought during summer when it's, 100 degrees out. I can't ship that animal for 3 or 4 weeks. I'll give them, and this is actually something I learned from ZenGex.
hmm
ZenGex's customer service is top notch. Um, he would send me a weekly photo and weight of the gecko while I was
That's
waiting
nice.
for it. So that's something I really try to do is, sorry, it's been a week. Here's a picture of it. It's gained weight. It's eating, just a simple like phone picture. It ate this week. It weighs this much. Takes 20 seconds to send that text. Calms the nerves of the buyer who's worried about if this animal's doing okay. Just little things like that as a seller that you can do creates that sense of trust to the buyer. And then another thing I like to do is I text them when I create the label and I text them when I drop it off. So that way there's a timestamp of, okay, this is when it left my hands.
hmm
Just so they know it's on its way and they know it's shipped now. And then the main thing I ask on the flip side is, as the buyer, can you please just text me and say, hey, the animal made it safe. That's all I want
hmm
is just it made it safe, because that relieves my stress as well. Because us as sellers, we go through the same stress period of having it shipped as the
Yep.
buyers do. Um,
Well, and my stress goes down the moment I see that it's at the hub, right? And then I'm like, all right, we're pretty much there. You know,
yeah, we're in an
very
air conditioned building. We're okay.
yeah, we're usually good at that point. But I still like to see how they like the gecko, right? And once they see it in person and that it's been picked up successfully. The one thing I'll also say, because I had to do this a lot, I worked, and when I bought most of my geckos, and I didn't get out till 3:30. Right, I started work very early in the morning, so I couldn't go before work, and I typically wouldn't get to the hub until 4:30 p.m. You know, they don't close till 7. But
Mhm.
because of that, I would tell the breeder, "Hey, just so you know, I know them. If it made it to the hub, they're safe. They usually give me a call around lunchtime. I know the ladies there really
Mhm.
well at FedEx,
Mhm.
and they're like, "Hey, by the way, you got a gecko." I'm like, "Oh, trust me, I know. I'm excited for this one." You know, and just the again going back to just the communication, because I don't want the seller to worry that I'm
Mm-hmm.
irresponsible in not picking up the animal. And that's always a nice thing. If you pick it up an hour after, it gets there, it's not the end of the world,
Mm-hmm.
but it is nice just to communicate, hey, you know what? I got to work. I'll pick it up at lunchtime. Not a problem. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
No problem.
Yep. That's
That way I'm
exactly.
not sitting by my phone waiting, like, did they pick it up yet?
Yep.
Are they even going for
Yep.
it? Like, you
Yep.
know?
Uh, Bobby, can you think of anything else that a seller should strive for to make that transition process
Well, I
smooth?
think you said, they don't need to get back to them in 5 minutes, but I will say this, okay? It's a double-edged sword. Yes, we have lives. Yes, you don't need to be instant, right? That it's unrealistic. Even, in my shoes where I work from home now, um, I have the luxury of getting back to people faster, or if I need a picture of my geckos, I can run downstairs most of the time. But to be honest with you, 24 hours, it's kind of a general rule at a
Yeah.
work environment of you need
Yeah.
to get back to people within 24 hours. And if you can't get the answer in 24 hours, even that's okay. But communicate, hey, thank you for your inquiry. I'm on vacation. Or, hey, I'm going to be busy for the next few hours in a conference or something. I'm not going to be home till this afternoon, and I can look at my collection then, and give you the answer. Just a sentence like that, to me as
Mm-hmm.
a buyer, goes a long way. It sets the expectation. It allows me to go, okay, they're not, they're not ignoring me, because there are people that just ignore you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And that's frustrating. When you
Mm-hmm.
start ignoring people, you've lost customers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to gain that trust back unless you've just got something that no one else has.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
100% agree.
So, because there, like you said, there are a lot of these are animals that there are multiple people we can buy from. And there are
Mm-hmm.
multiple animals that come up on the market. And sometimes even I've lost sales because I didn't get back to somebody fast enough. And
Mm-hmm.
they're like,
Same here.
hey, thanks so much, but I already picked up this animal.
Yep.
And that, so that's something. The other thing I would say for sellers is not to get too bent out of shape if they don't buy your gecko. I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people get really
Mm-hmm.
pissy when someone takes up, especially if they're a newer person or they're just a needier person and want this pick and that pick and this pick and that pick.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, here's something as a seller. If you're going to post like on a place like Morph Market where you get to put pictures and you put the same damn pose in 5 to 10 pictures, and then someone asks you for, hey, can I see the other side of the
I see the
animal?
other side of the gecko. Yeah.
It's like, don't get
Please.
pissed. Yes, you got 10, okay? But they're 10 of the same, or they're crappy photos. Put out good photos, guys. It's not that hard, okay? Go outside, get some indirect sunlight, watch a YouTube video on how to take a
Yep.
picture. But so many people I see out there are just, they're posting the crappiest cell phone picture like you're back in 2005, okay? And I don't understand it. Again, it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
the highest
You
quality.
you do not have to go buy a bougie camera. I
No,
used my iPhone for the first 2 years. Just, you know,
an
get some
iPhone is a
overcast.
good phone for most
Yeah. It
applications.
get some overcast lighting on a cloudy-ish, sunny kind
Yeah.
of day, and take a decent
Or
photo.
if you're doing this for a little bit longer, buy a light box. Buy some
Mm-hmm.
boxes or box lights that are not directly pounding and blowing out your stuff. Little stuff that's going to cost you less than $50 to put
Yeah.
together,
Yep.
can make a world of difference. And
Oh, yeah.
then don't just put the first few shots. Like, get your animal in focus. Here's another little
Mm-hmm.
trick for photography. Get your animal's face and eyes in focus. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand when the gecko's butts are just showing nonstop. Okay, if you're showing a back stripe or you're showing the dorsal, I get it. You want one of those shots, but like, I find most success when people look at a gecko and it's like it's a connection. It's almost like a puppy eye kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing. So I think that's also something. Get the focus, take your time, take more photos than you think you need, and then do not go and blow them out with
Yep.
edits.
Don't edit
Okay.
them. Don't edit them.
I'm not saying don't edit them because you want to make
Oh,
them true to
yeah.
life, right?
Yeah.
But don't go and take that saturation on
Yeah.
your, animal and jump it up. And I love when people, there's a little trick too to see if the longer you do this, which ones are
Even the
saturated.
stock image. Yeah.
Well, it's okay, especially the people who take their pictures on their hand. I love when people take pictures on their hand because as soon as they jump up that saturation, that's not their natural skin color. It's like there's no way that you better go because it looks like you have jaundice. All right. You better go to the doctor. So I think that's
Oh
something
man.
too, is just represent your animals well. I'm
Mhm.
very transparent. I either take indirect sunlight pictures outside or indoors. I take sometimes with,
Mhm.
sometimes without, again, depending on my lighting
Mhm.
situation. Because I have a window that goes in, so
Mhm.
sometimes I get more natural light, a flash or not. And
Mhm.
again, if it's not true to what I'm seeing, I'm not going to use
Yep.
the photo.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's my
I
rant on
100%
that.
agree. You're good. As a seller, show the quality of the animal as it is. And, we're not saying you have to go buy an exorbitant amount of lighting equipment. Just take the
Hmm.
best photos you can and try to give the buyers all of the angles. You know, I've also been in that situation where I've asked, "Hey, I can't see this. Can I see this side?" You know, and if they're not willing to show me just another angle of the gecko, it's really discouraging as a buyer because it's like I want a clear picture of what I'm buying. That's what I want. I want to see what I'm buying, and so it
And if
really
it takes
helps.
4 days to get the photo,
Hmm.
I'm probably buying something else.
Hmm. Yeah.
Unless it's something that I really want. Maybe I worked with the person before. Maybe
Hmm.
there's always caveats to all this stuff. But the big thing
Hmm.
is you know, as cliche as it is, treat people the way you want to be treated, and it's the
Yep.
same thing in sales. If you
Yep.
were buying this gecko, how fast would you want that information? How
Hmm.
you know uh, how nice of a photo would you want? What angles would you want?
Hmm.
And maybe I'm just pickier than other people, but it's worked out for me so far.
Hmm. All right.
So,
We talked about good things to do as a seller and maybe things to avoid. Let's switch to the buyer's perspective. From us
mhm.
as sellers, what has worked and what hasn't worked from buyers? Like, what is a good experience to you?
So I'd say the easiest, not necessarily the best, but the easiest experience is when I'm dealing typically with other breeders because they know what they want. They know the value of the animal, the true value of the animal in kind of a market sense of the word value. And when it's just a very like, hey, I really like this. Let's see the photos. Maybe ask a few questions about lineage.
Hmm.
Um, what's the best way to pay you?
Hmm.
You work all that out. Boom, boom, boom. Here they already send me their shipping information. That's another thing.
Hmm.
Have a hub ready.
Yep.
If I'm shipping to you, know which hub actually takes
Hmm.
live animals, and know if your hub is shutting down. Try to figure that
Hmm.
out. Okay, I had a situation worked out fine, but I looked up the hub and I was about to ship there, and luckily they're like, hey, no, the hub doesn't take animals anymore. They did last month, but this month it's finally not doing it. We
Hmm.
got to go and ship it to this other place. Had to go contact the you know company I bought the
Hmm.
label from and have it refunded and issued to a new one. It was just more of a hassle. So
Hmm.
having that information, if available, which most of the time it is,
Hmm.
ready to go. We're going to
Hmm.
ask you for your name. We're going to ask you for your cell phone number. We're going to ask you for your email. These are all
Hmm.
communication things we needed to ship. So, and know your
Yeah,
weather,
exactly. Exactly.
and
Yep.
and
That's
and
another.
understand that
Hmm.
if we tell you it's not safe, it's not because we're being
Hmm.
dicks. It's because
Hmm.
honestly, we are caring about these animals. We have raised these
Mm-hmm.
animals for
Mm-hmm.
months, if not years.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing we want is to have something happen in shipping because
Mm-hmm.
it was too hot and
Yep.
you needed your animal tomorrow versus you can't wait
Mm-hmm.
for the weather to get a little bit cooler. I'd rather hold an animal and
Mm-hmm.
keep it safe
Yep.
than risk it.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
So,
That's
what about you? What are you thinking?
yeah. I mean, you hit a lot of really good points. Just going in, not saying like you don't have to be like super straightforward. You don't have to be like this gecko, how much I'll take it, shipping it from. It doesn't
No.
have to be that robotic, but just having that info handy to make it a nice, seamless transition. You know, I usually I like when buyers open up and say, "Hey, I'm really interested in this. Can you show me some pictures?" So I'm like, "Yep,
Hmm.
cool." Um, and as long as that flows smoothly, uh, one of the biggest things that makes it really frustrating as a breeder is backpedaling. Um, for me, if we're talking, we've talked for 20 or 30 minutes and you say, "Hey, I really love this animal. Let's do it." I'll be like, "Cool." And I can't even count on both my hands how many times I've done the cool, awesome. I take this is payment, this is payment. Let's do it. And then never reply. And no reply, not even saying like, "Hey, I came with another gecko." That is a
Ghosting's the
real big,
worst. Yeah.
it's a real big turnoff for me because you said you would buy this animal, and nothing happened. Like if we would have talked for 20 minutes and I sent you pictures and you say, "Hey, I really appreciate your time. I'm just gonna hold off and look for now." Totally
Hmm.
fine. Yeah, absolutely. I love yapping. I love talking any chance I can get. That's
Yeah.
fine for me. But if we get to the point where you say, "Yes, I want this animal," and then nothing, that's really frustrating for me.
Right.
Because then I'm at that awkward point of, do I hold it? Do they still want this animal? Do I sell it to someone else? Because I don't want you to be frustrated if you come back and you just
Because
didn't
there is
reply for
dibs.
48 hours,
How many times there are people like there are certain animals that are very in demand, right? And all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, like it could even be on Morph Market or any other site or however you're trying to sell it, and no interest for 3 weeks. And all of a sudden, I get
Mm-hmm.
4 people reaching out, hey,
Yep.
tell me
Yep.
more about this animal. And whoever gets to me first typically gets
Mm-hmm.
dibs. And I tell them that. That's not
Exactly.
like so it's
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, can you make a decision? Because I've got other people on the line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a sales
Yep.
technique. If I
Exactly.
tell you that, it's because there is.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
it's
I'm just
it's
an
it's
idiot.
not. I'm never gonna lie to you and tell you this. Four other people want this animal. That's really sleazy.
It's very
Um,
sleazy if you're
but
doing that.
yeah, if you're not interested in a gecko, just tell me so we're both on the same page. I'm not going to be frustrated. Um,
That is something I will say that there is guilt from. I've been in
mm,
this situation where there's people that
mm-hmm,
I really want to buy from, like really want to
yep,
buy from. I like them as a person. I like them as a breeder. I like their animals, but it maybe just wasn't the right gecko or the right deal.
mm-hmm,
And most people are shopping around, right? So when I'm talking to John at
mm-hmm,
Goldenrod Gex, I'm also talking to 4 other,
yep, yep,
phantom breeders trying to
mm-hmm,
find the best reds I could
yep,
possibly get. And also, again, I don't want to just hand out cash to people.
mm-hmm,
So if I can get
exactly,
the same quality or better for a better price,
mm-hmm,
why not? So then,
mm-hmm,
okay, now I go and I bought it from breeder B instead of John, right?
mm-hmm.
What's the etiquette, John? What would you want as the breeder? If I didn't buy from you,
So,
but I asked you for a bunch of picks, we've been talking for two
mm-hmm,
days, and I
yeah.
went with the other guy.
I as a breeder, this is just me personally because I do the same thing. If I'm
Yeah.
shopping for a gecko, I'm never talking to one person. I'm talking to other breeders to figure out what I want and compare. As long as you don't agree on a price and say, "Yes, I want it," I am fine if you come back and say, "Hey, this other gecko just aligned better with me." It gets to, as long as you don't go into, "Hey, this gecko is way better than yours. It's a lower price."
Yeah,
And then
don't do
like,
that.
don't, that's the quickest way for me to say, "Okay, I'm not going to sell to you." If you start saying, "Well, this gecko is way better than yours and it's less of a price," I'm going to go with them. Like, to me, that's just a little
Rude.
insulting,
Yeah.
It's kind of rude. It's like saying your artwork is crap, this other artwork is better. It's subjective. Um, but if you talk to me for 2 days and you say, "Hey, I'm going with this other guy's," sorry, I'm gonna be okay because at the end of the day, I still talk to you. You know who I'm about. There's still a good chance we could do business if this is what you're into.
And in the future,
I'm
most
never
likely you
gonna,
will if you end on a
yeah,
good note.
I'm never gonna burn a bridge just because someone liked a different gecko because I've done the same thing. And I have no hard feelings towards anyone who has done it to me because that's just part of the game. There's a lot of gecko breeders here. There's a lot of geckos to choose from.
Hmm. Absolutely. And you never know what the reason is why they went with something else. The one thing I will say as a seller, it's a little bit of a personal pet peeve of mine. Not the worst thing someone can do, but if you go with someone else's animal, you're tempted sometimes, and maybe I've even done this in the past and I shouldn't have. Don't go and show the animal to them and go, "See, look what I got. Look how awesome it is." It's like, even if it is, it's cool, but you kind of broke my heart here. Like, not really,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like you chose someone over me, right? It'd be
Yeah.
like, you're trying to date somebody, right? You think it's going really
Mm-hmm.
well, and then they end up dating someone else and they go, "Hey, come hang out with my new,"
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm good. I'm good. If you guys break up, you need
Mm-hmm.
another date, come
Let me
see
know.
me. But while you're doing
Yep.
that, have
Yep.
some
And
fun.
I think
Just post it
I
on
think that
Instagram.
exactly. I think that goes back to like what I was saying, like, please, if you don't want my gecko, just, say, "Hey, appreciate you talking to me. I found another option that works better for me." Please, like, it's kind of disheartening to see someone come back and say, "Look at how much nicer this gecko is. This is the one I went with because of this, this, and this." Because that's just at a
You
point,
better
it's
be
like
damn good
that's
friends with that person.
yeah, I was like,
You
it's
know?
out of my control. I'm really happy you found this nice gecko, but I also love my geckos too. And I don't want to ever put down my own animals for sale because I truly appreciate every single one of them. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
And the more we're talking, the more this just comes down to one word: relationships, relationship
Mm-hmm.
management. How do
Mm-hmm.
you go about fostering, maintaining, respecting the relationships within the hobby? And yes, there's a monetary transaction that we have to buy and
Mm-hmm.
sell animals, but if you look at it more as this is treat it as relationships, you're going to come
Mm-hmm.
out ahead. You really are,
Yeah,
in
exactly.
both, so many ways, so many
Oh yeah.
ways.
Oh yeah.
Um, so, because some people find this very daunting and very
Mm-hmm.
exhausting. Some people
Mm-hmm.
hate the sales aspect, the buying aspect. It's like, you know, I understand it. If you're not super extroverted, if you don't find this to be
Mm-hmm.
exciting, like, woohoo, I get to
Mm-hmm.
go, go for a hunt. I get it. If you just want to
Mm-hmm.
breed and make pretty things, and this is the
Mm-hmm.
least favorite part of the job, I empathize with you. I But then there are people who enjoy it too. Like, I'll be honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy a good back and forth. I enjoy a
Oh
good
yeah. Me
negotiation.
too.
I enjoy the hunt. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what people also need to be a little bit cautious of with certain personalities. People can extend their collection too much because they're just
Mm-hmm.
looking for the next deal, the next dopamine hit, the next buy, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't appreciate the animals sometimes that they currently have. Um, so I think that's a whole nother conversation we don't have to get into
Oh
right
yeah.
now.
Oh yeah.
But
This is going to be a random little tangent. To me, I think Palm Street combines both aspects of the qualities of Morph Market and Instagram DMs. This is my hot take. Because
please explain.
On Palm Street, you get to see 20, 30 animals showed side by side, while also being able to have a real-time conversation with the breeder, which to me is great.
Yes. I
You get to see multiple animals side by side, and the breeder is there to talk to you about the differences, what's going on. You get the vibe for the breeder. Like,
mhm.
to me, I like the social aspect of it. I absolutely love talking, if you can't tell, and just being able to be there and show people my personality and show how passionate I am about the geckos. And being able to have that conversation in person is way easier than over text. It's so much easier for me to explain these things through my train of thought, being able to vocalize
I'm
it.
so glad you said it that way, because that's my biggest bugaboo about, the whole Palm Street experience as a buyer. Okay. As a seller, totally on board with you. I love it. Right. When I did my 2 shows, I had a blast. We shaved your beard. Like it
We
was,
did.
it was a hell of a lot of fun. We made some great geckos, find some fantastic homes. Okay. As a platform, it does its job. It does it very well. My biggest concern though is that, like, it's a two-way street, right? So the people watching get to see the personality. They get to see the what
Mhm.
you're bringing to the table, the animals and things like that, which is huge.
Mhm.
But when it comes to, there is no negotiation. It's a bidding thing, right?
Yep.
And so
Yep.
there is no, yes, you get to type in texting questions, but like you said,
Mhm.
texting is different than
Mhm. Mhm.
the communication verbally.
Mhm.
And I struggle with text communication. I am such an old soul with that. I would rather pick up the phone and dial and bug you. And
Mhm.
I know so many people my age and younger that are just like, you old man, like just text me. Like, stop, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. How many times does Kylie say that about me? Like, you know?
Yeah, all the phone calls at
all
11:30
the
when she wants to go to bed.
exactly, it's
Mhm.
just text. Well, the other thing that drives me nuts about text is, like, I've had certain things where by the time I'm done texting, even if I text really fast, the conversation's already moved on.
Yep.
And so I either
Yep.
luckily have time to delete it or I don't, or like just reading it, it's like out of context. It's not funny. It's not,
Yep.
it's not appropriate.
Yep.
And then I get this gut feeling like, ooh, did they take it the wrong way?
Yeah, the nonverbal communication just isn't
Oh,
there.
it's not there at all. So that's my one downside, but the upside
Mhm.
of the sales and being able to get an animal at an awesome price
Mhm.
while bidding against
Yeah.
other people, I love that. And I love that
Mhm.
more
But
people can join.
that is also the other like double-edged sword of bidding auction style buying is there's a certain element of impulsivity to it. There
Yes.
just is. Hearing that ding of 7, 6, 5, 4, it makes you want to swipe. And so that leads people to make sort of impulsive decisions. And when we're in the hobby of buying living things that can live for 20,
Mm,
30, 40 years, sometimes an impulsive decision isn't the smart one. The only refund I've ever had to give was through a Palm Street auction, mainly because there just wasn't that time. Certain expenses came up, no fault of their own. Both of us still very happy. I have the most respect for them. Never gonna judge for someone for that. Um, but that's just an elevated risk of those impulsive decisions. So normally we have to safeguard ourselves saying like, hey, I can't substitute this gecko. I can't refund that gecko. But sometimes that can lead to a dissatisfied customer. Not very
right.
often, but sometimes it just doesn't work out, it's just something with that type of service. Any auction service, there's going to be that element. So it's just something to think about. That's also why the prices are lower. If it was impulsive, at least it was a good deal. I can't even count how many times I've said, well, at least it was a good deal. I didn't mean to buy it, but I'm happy with it.
Yeah, right.
You know?
As long as the animal's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that's been a challenge with some impulse buys, is that it's
Mm-hmm.
justified if the animal's not healthy. I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only sell healthy animals. But
Yeah.
yeah. I Okay, one other topic I want to bring up, I think this is
Mm-hmm.
important too, is we talked about payment a few times, right? When you're dealing with Palm Street, you have to put in your credit card or
Mm-hmm.
debit card, whatever it is, in order to even bid. And then you can, depending on how you buy it, do the pay in for, it just automatically charges to your credit card. Easy. That's one other big giant plus
Mm-hmm.
about Palm Street.
Oh, that's one thing I love about Palm Street is the
Easy.
guaranteed payment.
Yeah.
It
But
it
guys,
takes all the
also
work out of it.
know that with your deal as a seller, there are fees associated with it. There are taxes taken out. So they're not
Yep,
getting
you're paying for that
100% of the
convenience.
money.
Yeah.
They're paying for that convenience that you're paying
Yeah.
for. So like you keeping asking, they've already given you the lowest price and you keep asking for more and more off. You're gonna, yeah, it just doesn't look good. So just heads up. But with the other platforms, right? Typically payment is done individually one-on-one between the two people, right? Usually
Mhm.
digital currency, unless again,
Yep.
we're at a show, it's
In
cash.
person.
Cash is king
Hmm.
because, you know, unless you're
I've
counterfeiting
actually,
bills.
I had one person, they offered to ship me silver billions, billions,
Bullion?
I don't know,
No, I don't
bullion. Yeah,
know.
I don't know. They offered to ship me silver for a gecko, which I
Hmm.
thought was really cool. I did turn it down just because I don't know how to convert silver into cash.
Yeah.
Um, but that is the other form of currency I've gotten. I've gotten rare metals before. I don't know if you
Interesting.
have, but
I have
yeah,
not been offered rare metals.
yeah.
I'm surprised I haven't been offered Bitcoin. I know some people will do that. Usually it's just cash. I've had to pay in different currencies, when I buy
Mm.
stuff
Yep.
overseas.
When you import stuff, yep.
And what kills me about that too is so typically things are done through either Venmo, PayPal, Zelle.
Mhm.
Is there what's another one? Money app,
Square, a
Square,
Cash
things
App.
like that. Cash App, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's different ones. Be okay that they don't have every single one, please. Okay. And
Mhm.
no,
It's
I am not going to download a new app just because that's your preferred way.
yeah.
Just like, I have to accept that, you know, I like Zelle. It goes right to
Hmm.
my bank account, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of
I
benefits
can't
there.
have Zelle with my bank account. It's just like there's different circumstances for
There are.
everybody.
So I can't get pissed
Yeah.
off that John doesn't pay me through Zelle, and
I'm
so
sorry. I can't do it. I'll ship you some cash with an
yeah,
envelope.
there you go. And actually, there's one thing I have gotten cashier's check mailed to me.
That's smart.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool. Yeah.
So that was interesting. Obviously, the animal doesn't get shipped till I get that cleared,
Oh yeah,
but
obviously.
it worked out beautifully.
Yeah.
Zero issues with that one.
Statement as sellers, please do not ship an animal until you've gotten payment for it.
Yes, don't.
It's way too risky to ever do. Like Bobby said, he only trusts one. He only trusts one person, and it isn't even me, the dude he talks to for like 5 hours a day.
It's not John. No.
Please
So
get your money before you ship your good. Do that.
yeah, but with my European purchase, I just did another one. I went through PayPal because that's what the two
Mhm.
sellers wanted. Not a problem. My problem is that the exchange rate is set through PayPal, not through I Google search like what is the euro versus USD worth, and I that's what I kind of was budgeting on. Oh, I was off. Google, damn
Really?
you with your, making
Yeah.
me think I was getting a better deal than I did. And again, it was fine. It was worth it. But
It's
like,
probably still a
still,
great deal, but
exactly. But at the end of the day, I'm still spending a few $100s more than I thought because, it's their rate. So depending on where you
yeah.
guys take payment, I will say, even at shows, if you don't have cash, a lot of vendors will take credit cards. They'll have a way of taking credit cards.
Yeah.
It's just smart for them to do so. If you are a seller, try to figure out a way.
Also, yeah, as a seller, a Square account is free and they ship you a card reader once you get an account for free.
Yeah.
So it
So
costs no money.
it does on the back end, but not to get
On the
it set
back end,
up.
but there's fees and stuff, but there's a way to
Exactly.
get cards.
Yes. And so because there are those fees though, don't be surprised if you don't have cash and you're buying it with a credit card. If they say, hey, if you're doing a card, there's a cash price and then there's a credit card price. And I got to charge you the 5%, whatever the heck it is, crazy now.
The same thing with PayPal. If people don't want to do friends and family and they want that extra security, I need like an extra 5% to cover the goods and service fee. It's
Correct.
just extra fees incurred that I need to be paid.
So,
All
fun
right.
question for you, John.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you can, either stories you've heard or nightmare situations you're afraid of?
Um,
Like, what could
I think
really
this.
go wrong with this?
I think the scariest stories I've heard is people getting an animal. They sent the money. They ship the animal. The animal gets there. They charge back. That's terrifying
Scares
to me
the bejesus out of most of
because it
us.
happens way more than people think. And it's you ship a $5,000 animal and then $5,000 disappears. And and that animal is in their custody now. Like that's the scary part. They have that animal.
Mm-hmm.
It's theirs. And to me, it's like, how do you, I mean, you have to go through customer
And I've
service and it's
not
a long
heard
drawn out
good.
process. And it's, yeah,
It's not
it's,
an easy process or a good process. So this is not a, don't go and be that person, guys. All right, you will get blackballed immediately.
yeah,
Okay, we all talk. Um,
yeah. I've
just
never
don't
heard
do it.
anything good coming out of it. Yeah. And,
No.
uh, it's just, it's, don't do it. It's where this whole hobby is built on trust. Pretty much this entire episode we talked about is the more you trust someone, the better of a deal you get. Once you
Absolutely.
break that trust for one person, this is a very close knit hobby. People hear things. I know multiple sellers that, or know multiple buyers that people have talked about, and I've heard 10, 20, 30 breeders say, do not sell to this person.
Mhm.
They do very bad things, and word spreads fast. So just
It does. But a good reputation
pay the
spreads just
price.
as fast too.
Exactly.
You know,
Yep.
and that's the other thing too, is because, like, you know, when even when I was buying overseas, I reached out to the other people I know in Europe, and I'm like, hey, do you know this guy? Do you know this seller? Right? Oh yeah, no, we've been working together for X amount of years. Cool. I feel so much better. Right? They've got a good reputation. I trust them a little bit more. You know, I'm still nervous because it's an import, um, but it just it eases you a little bit, and a good reputation is it's almost as good as some kind of
Oh yeah,
currency.
exactly. And this is something I always advocate for people to do, especially new breeders. If you find an animal on Morph Market, if you find a breeder on Palm Street, if you find, any, look them up, find their Instagram, find their social media, see how they are, see how they react to people, and see if they're, they come off as a trustworthy person. All, looks can be deceiving, but just learning a little bit about them, maybe just having a conversation can tell you a lot about a person and if this is going to be a good transaction or not. Because, like, a benefit about looking how the breeder is, if their Instagram shows their animals, it'll probably show how they care for them.
Yeah.
It'll probably show an
Look behind the
enclosure.
animals and you see a lot.
Hmm. Make sure and just say, like, are these animals malnourished? Are they healthy? Like, what's going on? And it'll tell you a lot. And 99% of the time, they're going to be a really chill person. That's going to be a
Mm-hmm.
lovely, lovely transaction. But there's always that slight chance that maybe they're maybe not the best breeder, maybe stay away from them. But 99% of the time, they're going to be great people because most of us are amazing people.
Yeah, and
Not to toot our
if
own
we're in it
horns or
for
anything.
any bit of time, I agree. You know, the other thing too is there are a few different avenues. So we've talked about going reaching out to the people in your network to find out information. We've talked about looking at their social media and seeing, you know, what can you really see on there, right? There is some ease if they have a whole bunch of gecko photos and, you know, it seems like they're active. That eases me a little bit. If they haven't posted in a year and a half, 2 years, again, it's
Hmm.
just one of those little things. It's not a huge red flag, but it's just like, okay, what's going on? And
Yep.
then one big plus when it comes to like Morph Market, um, reviews. Do you
Yep.
care if there's reviews? Do you care about the ratios and the stats that they keep on people?
So just because, like, I'm a psychology student. I'm in my master's program for counseling. I know how likely someone is to leave a bad review versus a good review. 99% of the time, if they had a great experience, they're not going to leave a good review unless it was like the best experience they've ever had. If someone has any uncomfortable things happen to them, they're going to leave a subpar bad review. Obviously, I'm still going to read them. If I see that someone, you know, sent an animal and it had a crooked spine and they didn't say, and they sent three animals in one container and like all that. Like if I see that, I'm not going to buy from that person.
Yep.
But if I see, 5-star reviews, and like the main thing I look for is great communication. That's the biggest. If I see someone say they talked with me, they were great, they were friendly, they answered my questions, I'm good. All I want to know is that I'm going to stay in the loop.
Yep.
So take it with a grain of salt. Obviously,
Transparency.
bad reviews, they're a good indicator. But if there's just like a 4-star review, a 3-star review saying, something like the box was slightly damaged when it came or something like that, take that with a grain of salt. But if I see they're good communicators, there's no animal issues with the actual animals, there's no deceiving, I'm chill. Yeah.
Right. And I think from a seller's point of view, being comfortable and confident enough, if you feel like you've given good service, if you feel like it's been a good transaction where they've received the animal, they're happy, ask them to leave your review. Ask them to go and take 10 seconds to write whatever they want. They can write whatever they want about you, right? And then do them the favor of writing a review as a buyer, because even as a seller, I will go and read reviews if you have them of, how did your last transaction go? How many geckos have you, tracked on this? It's not the end of the world. It's not like I'm not going to do business with people. But if there's some this was horrible, hey, this person, then we may change things a little bit. And so I think any opportunity to advocate for yourself, say, hey, I hope you had a great time. Can you do me this favor? I'll do the same solid for you. And then when you do have a great experience with somebody as a buyer, don't even wait for them to ask you. Just do it. Let's just make that the norm, right? Of let's go and tell people how great of an experience it was, because it's so uncommon. But you want to talk about man, I'll tell you, certain people have made me feel so good where I don't even ask that. And then they go and they do a nice Instagram post and they go and they say, hey, look at the gecko I got from, Gecko Cove, or
I know someone who did that for you one time.
I know. Or, I'm going to give someone a shout out right now. This isn't necessarily one where I shipped them and they gave me the review then. Centaur Gargs just posted the other day. One of the babies she bought. Oh, fantastic. Posted the other day about one of the geckos that I produced year one, right? Showing it off. And it's not the flashiest red gecko that I ever produced. This thing was unique. It was white, right? And she loves it. And it's gorgeous. And it got a lot of attention. And I just really appreciated her tagging me in it. She could have just posted the gecko, but she posted it, tagged me in it, and said, basically a big thank you. And I really appreciate her. So, things like that builds a relationship, that builds that community, that giving the credit and showing the love. So give each other love. We love it.
I do think, since we're on the topic of reviews,
go ahead.
I know for myself, if you have a bad experience with me, please come forward. I would rather do whatever it takes to make you feel like whatever I did wrong is been resolved than you being dissatisfied. I am very much like if you weren't happy with your animal, let me know why. Let me know what happened. If something happened and like if you weren't happy with my communication, like let me know. I'll do what I can to make it right if it's reasonable. We aim to please.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. As long as it's reasonable and we can come together, I'm going to do whatever I can to make you happy, because that's what I want from my customers. I want them to be happy. I don't want anyone to feel burned in any transaction. So,
because if they don't like you, then they're not, it leaves a little mark on the gecko in their minds subconsciously. And then they're like, always, it came from goldenrod, so I agree. The other thing too, is when you make a mistake, you have to go and fix it.
You gotta own up to it.
And you have to own up to it. My very first year, I'll tell a little quick story where I had raffle Kalik babies, and they looked very similar, and there was two nicer ones, and I was in a rush. I got home from work. I had to go package it, ship it. go pick up
Mm-hmm.
my kids. Like it's not an excuse, but it is my excuse. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the bins were right next to each other. And I grabbed, I think, rack of 5 instead of rack of 3. And I
Mm.
shipped it and didn't realize until I got home to feed. And I'm like, what the hell is this gecko doing here?
Oh no.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
no. And they hadn't received it yet. So I went and called that person, right? Again, I'm old. So I was like, hey, can we talk? You know, and wanted them to actually hear my voice and hear how like I was worried and I was
Mm-hmm.
really disappointed in myself. And I gave them the option. I gave them the option of, do you want money off and I'll send you money back?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want me to go and buy you a label, right? No
Mm-hmm.
cost to them.
Yep.
It's not their fault.
Yep.
Buy them a label to ship that animal back, and I will ship out that animal tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they chose to do that. So they wanted that one gecko. They got that one gecko, and it all worked out. But I had to eat when I'm just starting out, and I
Mm-hmm.
did not have
Yep.
much money in my gecko account, right?
Yeah, this is back when shipping labels were very expensive too.
They were.
Yeah.
I probably spent about $200
I was going to say about
ship,
$200.
back,
Yeah.
ship, and this was a deal where, I think shipping was included in the original price. And, so it sucked, but
Mm-hmm.
man, I'm still friends with this person and they're fantastic.
Good.
And I'm so
See,
glad I didn't
that's
burn
all
that
that matters.
by,
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I didn't go and ruin a cool friendship over,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know what I
Exactly.
mean? And my reputation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's just one example,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
we're not perfect, but just own
Exactly.
up to
Everyone makes mistakes. Just let them know. Be reasonable.
it. Yeah.
Do what you can to make it right.
Yeah. But hopefully this isn't coming off too preachy, guys. These are just
I don't-
things that we've
Yeah.
learned, over our time here.
Yeah.
John,
And,
is
like,
there
in the
anything
comments-
else? Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, in the comments, let us know tips and tricks, what you like in a buyer, what you like as a seller. Like, let us
Yeah.
know what's worked good for you. I'd love to hear other people's opinions on what have seen as like a great transaction from both like a seller standpoint and a buyer standpoint. I'd love to read about it. Yeah, let us know.
I bet some people even love, there's plenty of people who just have a website where it's a buy
Mhm.
now button. And
Yep.
then you fill out a form and it shows up.
Yep.
And for some people that could be the best experience possible for them. Me, I'm a
already
talker,
up on
so
myself.
yeah, exactly. But I think having the common questions answered ahead of time. We've kind of touched on that already. But if you're the seller, have the parents' pictures ready, right? If you don't have them, it always kills me. It's like, well, I got to go take photos of the parents. Why? Aren't they on your phone? Like, I have like 10,000 of each of my gecko. Maybe I'm weird.
It's the reason I have all my pairings in my Instagram highlights, because I can send them that post, and that post has the parents' as well.
Right. Well, and as a buyer, I want to see the gecko at like their prime, 2-3 years old,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
If you've got an 8-year-old gecko, sure, you could show me what it looks like now, but you might not get, I don't know. It just
Mhm.
show off what the potential is. Don't show me
That's-
what a
Yeah, this
super
is a
bred
whole
out
nother
animal looks like.
nother discussion. We can talk about
Yeah.
selling proven animals. I would love to talk about that.
Yeah, no, that's a whole nother conversation. But hopefully this helps people as they're going into the season, buying and selling. We
Yep.
didn't even talk about when to sell as far as like
Oh yeah,
age.
that's a podcast in itself. Is talking
know.
about seasons, selling, holding. Busy
that's a
season
whole
versus
nother
when
conversation.
sales dip down. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But hopefully you guys enjoyed listening with us talk about etiquette and our pet peeves and what we like and things like that.
There you go. Now you know how to manipulate us.
Yeah.
So
Tomorrow we're gonna get a like, hey, I saw this gecko on your morph market. This one's better. We're gonna get people just messing with us.
I love it. Please do. We'll enjoy
Please
it.
do it. That'll be funny. Tell us you learned it from us.
That's awesome. Well, guys, do us a favor. We've got some really awesome stuff in the pipeline for this podcast. If you're enjoying Jon and us having these conversations, please share it with other people. I'm loving. We're getting a good amount of views every video.
Yeah, I like the community
and we're
getting.
continuing this because not only do I do this with Jon on a regular basis off air, but we really do feel like this could be a value. So if there's anything you guys want to see us talk about, or maybe we bring on guests, or we do something a little bit different, if you have suggestions. I was talking to Jon about maybe even doing like a panel on certain topics where we get a bunch of people's opinions. If you think that would be a lot of fun, where it's not just us, it's kind of some other people and their opinions, leave it down in the comments. Let us know. Reach out to us in person. But the more you guys interact with this video, the more other people get to see it. And we do appreciate you doing all that YouTube mumbo jumbo.
Yep.
So any other last minute thoughts, Jon?
I just want to thank everyone. I love the little community we're growing. It makes me really happy. I love seeing the comments things. I guess I'm gonna do my shameless plugs. It's where we've reached that point. Follow my Instagram if you want. It's goldenrod_gex. I post bad memes and pictures of my geckos sometimes. And then also I have a morph market and a Palm Street. So if you want to hang out at Palm Street sometime, then listen to me yap and show geckos. Bye.
That's awesome. And the other thing I want to point out is if you're going to be at Tinley in October, please find us, say hello.
Come say hi.
Let us know what you guys think of the podcast so far. We'll be shopping around for geckos.
Yeah.
And
show us the geckos you want. I love doing
We're not
that.
selling, so don't worry about that. Not at Tinley.
Yeah, we're not selling, but we'll be buying right with you. Don't worry.
And we're going to be one of the days, I don't think we've decided which day, I'm going to make t-shirts, and I'm making this up right now. Jon doesn't know what I'm about to say.
That's
right?
just
has
the
no idea what I'm about to say. But what I'm thinking is, Jon, we need to get the t-shirts and we need to get pens. Okay. Some like Sharpies. And what I want to do is anybody who comes up and says that they saw this video, right, and is a fan of the show, I want you to sign our shirts. Okay.
Well, that'd be super cool.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to auction the shirts and give it to US Arc.
Like the shirts that we are wearing?
That we're wearing at the show after people sign it. Or maybe we don't wear those shirts.
We should have
a shirt.
Because then I'm a really sweaty guy. I'm not going to lie.
We'll do one. See, I'm just
spitballing a sweaty here. Shirt.
Guys, this is like
we'll have a shirt in our bag, and if you come up and say hi, I'll make you sign it. Yeah.
See, this is why it takes two brains to make this work. But
I'm just way too sweaty for that. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's a great idea. I love that.
That's fine. We'll be wearing the shirts anyway, but then we'll have an extra shirt that we'll auction off, and then we'll give it to probably US Arc or some charity.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a lot of fun.
That'd be really cool. I love that.
Is that cool? Maybe we do two, and we just get, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll give you guys the rules.
We'll figure
exactly.
something out.
But come see us. That's the whole point. Come say hi.
I just
don't
like
be
seeing
afraid.
people. We're yappers. Don't worry.
All right. Very cool. Well, thank you guys so much again for tuning in. And I'm going to, say go check out the rest of my channel. I just did an awesome episode on my grow tent. I should probably do an episode with Jon just on that alone. It's really changed the game for me. So if you haven't seen it, it'll be in the description below. And other than that, we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. See you guys. Have a good night.
Hey, if you've enjoyed this video and want to encourage me to make more Gargoyle Gecko content, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button, share this with a friend, and maybe check out one of the videos right over there. I'll see you next time on Gecko Cove.